Hey guys, I got a video I want to jump right into because I am worried it's going to be long. What you see in front of you is a website about trying to stop a improvement project from going through to Ethereum. People are worried that restructuring the fees could affect network security downstream. From February 26th this year, let's go ahead and just jump in with his clip. He's arguing in favor of better network security.
You
There it
talk
goes.
about I've seen discussions about the minimum amount we should pay for security, and when you have a coin that's worth 10 or 100 million, the minimum is fine. But when you have something worth, I believe 200 billion was the number, around a quarter of what Bitcoin is worth, you're not talking about the minimum here. You're talking about trying to pay the maximum you want for security.
Okay, and then let's just go ahead and go straight to a rebuttal from the gentleman named Giorgio,
Yeah, so
a
thank you,
developer.
Hudson. So firstly, like to quickly answer Rick's question, miners don't need to understand MEV. The existence of MEV being extracted by traders generates fees that miners earn via the priority gas auctions. So putting that aside, miners have another form of revenue that comes from MEV, and they don't need to know anything about MEV. They just get more money because of MEV. So that aside, I want to respond to Chris's earlier point around how that you should pay, let's say, as much as possible instead of minimum. So firstly, let's agree on some common ground truth. The Ethereum network exists to serve transactors and ETH holders and not the miners. So the holders, they currently subsidize security for everyone else via the block subsidy, and they should not have to pay more than what's necessary. So then, using that like as a kind of like as a compass, we can easily understand that the the rewards should scale with the network size, and they should not be over the network size, neither should they be lower than the network size. Currently, we overpay.
That's his rebuttal. That's his thought. But for him, agreeing on a ground truth just means totally disregarding what Chris said, which I don't really
There is a
appreciate.
lot of this already talked to on the channel, but bottom line, with an uncapped limit, all you're doing is just telling it off to try to artificially push the price up. When we start trying to tinker with the inflation rate, you're in a non-known schedule way, it's artificially playing with it. And I don't know if that has the same economic benefits.
Like a minute or two.
Okay, yeah, I'll be real quick on MEV because there's not a lot. So with a lot of that development and with DeFi being new since May of this last year, I don't think there's enough data out there that we have seen presented or done ourselves to see what the real extraction value is there. Um, I'm going to add it to the mining sheet and try to see if we can put a value to that of what a typical miner can see, because it hasn't been covered. I have not covered it on my channel. I would I'm taking it as a note to do more research to make sure that I can provide a better view for people to understand what that means for the ecosystem, because we may be downplaying it more than um, or not talking about it enough to help concern what miners can do. So I think that was, yeah, I'll just
So let me just summarize because I know, like, I made notes to do so. So I cut a part where he talks about ASICs as one of his rebuttals because it doesn't really apply to the 1559 piece directly, and just trying to simplify things and move along. So why did I even bring it up? He gets a little bit too into the weeds about how price manipulation, how little is known about how this manipulation will have downstream effects. His basic premise is that they're a little bit too overconfident in their projections, and that he's done his own, and his don't line up, and maybe he's a little bit more skeptical or a little bit more security is concerned. But he addresses MEV by just basically saying it's something he doesn't know a lot about and needs to research more. So let's go. It's number 4. Doesn't speaks for itself, and I'm gonna cough. So
Of course, generally pools exist to defend their miners because miners are the ones paying us, and you defend your client. Um, so we don't feel that miners are overpaid. In the end, as you pay more, more miners join, and the amount per miner evens out. So what we have here is a situation where EIP took a very long, sorry, EIP 1559 took a long time to come in, and now you have many more miners than there would have been had it come in earlier. So now you're stuck, and now we have a lot of miners basically all making around the same as they would have before 1559 came in. So now we have many pools that are saying they don't want to lose their miners because, again, this is a very big community and you have many people who are working here. And I know people say miners aren't workers, but we are workers. We maintain our rigs, we put money down. We're basically all small business owners. So now we have a situation where miners are all making this amount and you're proposing to cut it by 50% or more. So I've talked to miners, and it's not that we're opposed to 1559. We think it will bring several needed improvements, and there honestly needs to be even more improvement because gas is getting a bit too high. But the thing is, you're cutting our revenues with that, and honestly, we don't think we should need to cut our revenues that much, and we think the community can offer something so that the gap is not so big when you cut them. Instead of, like, we're willing to sacrifice a bit, but you're asking us to sacrifice more than half. And now you're at a situation where you have Ethermine, Spark Pool, and many other pools, and they're coming out and saying this cut is too much. Um, if you look at the stop 1559, you'll see that there's only one pool representing 10% of hash rate that even supports 159 without any changes. So you're at a situation where 90% of the network is telling you we oppose this proposal.
I really appreciate Chris summing that up. The next clip we have is Carter getting a chance to explain why the burn is problematic versus fees going to the miners. So let's just go ahead and run the clip. I'll summarize at the
I
end.
think it's more, this is going to be me putting on a marketing hat and kind of tapping my old Anheuser-Busch experience. I think the messaging that comes with certain activities when it's a heavy transaction time, let's say the last couple of days we had 12 to 25 coin per block happening. That's going to, there's a huge message that's going to happen with that when you start seeing that much being burned, when you have the the typical block reward inflation being at 2, but then you burn 25. There's a huge amount of as showing 9, 10, 12 million dollars a day being burned on heavy transaction times. Now that's still not really fixing the user experience if that's what's still occurring. If we have huge amounts of transactions happening, it's costing the user a lot. But I think the messaging on the supply will be far outweigh the realities of the supply, even if it's going in a downward motion because of the amount of inflation over years and stuff.
Clip number 6 is just kind of addressing. This is Carter kind of explaining like his a security concern.
In the essence of time,
The most important
I'll
part.
give Michael 30 seconds and Thomas 30 seconds.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, and I mean, you kind of hit it already, Mike. The main piece that I'm tracking with it is that we're in a different time than we were 2 years ago, and even with the rolling wave of possibly doing this in June, at the current exponential growth, we're going to be close to 700 terahash. If that comes off, people that are investing in that are going to be looking on how to where the money's coming from. If there's a play for a competitive network, not saying calling any networks out that somebody would do that, but somebody that's long in that position has every incentive in the world to have an issue to create an issue for Ethereum. And this isn't theoretical things. This has happened to several other networks. Pretty much almost every proof of work, large proof of work mining network out there. So I'm trying to ensure that people are taking it seriously, and then I think mathematically we can keep track of where things are at and how big of an impact it's going to be if this is put in June or July, where we're at in the stack, and if a block reward or something like that needs to be adjusted to lessen the risk. And that's all I'm looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, he got 90 seconds to address like the main point he was trying to make. I don't know. It's just people got to talk a lot, and you actually got to see almost everything Carter and Chris got to say. So yeah, I am gonna do this. I really thought about it. Yeah, don't like the way people were talking about miners. It really upset me. That's where the story's
so
going from here.
firstly, I want to point out a main takeaway from this discussion for miners, based
For
on the
miners.
stuff that we've said, that MEV drastically changes the landscape. The fee revenue that you would lose is much lower than you think or have calculated and so on. And that I want to rehash the fact that miners are long Ethereum and the Ethereum economy, and as the Ethereum economy pie grows, so will your revenue. So you should consider the option which grows the Ethereum economy and not be myopic about the situation. Thank you.
Rick?
Myopic even. I kind of forgot that part. Okay, so he's going to tell... This is the takeaway for miners. He will tell you what to think, dear miner. You know, God forbid you sat in on a fucking, hour and a half long development call, took your own notes just to come to your own conclusions. Just let Giorgio tell you what your takeaway should be. Okay. No, what should be is. Maybe it's lost in translation. I'll give him just a bit of slack. Straight up disregards the note, the work that Bits Be Trippin' has done. Quite a bit of work has been done over the last few weeks here in modeling, and it's not just on the back of an envelope somewhere. It was serious work. So whatever you think, very disregarded. I wasn't very happy with that. The other thing is, he's like, miners are long on Ethereum. Miners are long on Ethereum, eh? The thing is like, ASIC miners aren't flexible. ASIC miners that are for Fhash run Fhash, and they're going to always mine Fhash. So you're probably going to see a breakaway faction like ETH Classic 2.0. I don't even know what to call it. It's not that they're long on Ethereum. Not the 2.0, not Vitalik's Ethereum. They're just long on what they have running. GPU miners are actually probably longer on the whole program because, I don't know, because we can shift our miners to other things and we can build gaming rigs out of them and sell their cards at a loss, but like we can take the rigs down and still have something to do with them instead of throw them in a landfill like an ASIC. So I just really didn't like the just one brush stroke for all miners. Like, I'm sure plenty of GPU miners maybe think it's a good idea. I'm not trying to speak for everyone either. But it's just very like, you think this, you are like, this is the takeaway for you. You're long on Ethereum, blah, blah, blah. This next guy, when he says, pardon me, when he says, who cares about the miners and what they get paid, like, he means it. As far as I can tell, but you be the judge, man.
Who cares about what they are paying, what they're paying them? Who cares for the miners? Who cares about what about Ethereum future decentralization, or even our Earth, the climate change? And most of miners, they do not even know how to use a wallet. They never use the on-chain wallet, and never have the know-how to have ever use a dApp or DeFi application. So I feel that all this stuff, EIP 1559, is organized by some small mining pools. It's just about money and the dirty money.
So he's an old miner, which is weird because he really hates miners. Then he made a pool, and since you're not as smart as him and you didn't make a pool, you don't deserve it. You weren't interested in it as early as him, so you don't deserve it. It's very like boomer or hipster or both. Like, I don't know. I can't decide. Red Panda had a stream on the March 1st. First. Then he had a tweet about it, like about the outcome of some discussion with some folks. Then the next day, he kind of summarized it on this clip here.
Hey guys, Red Panda Mining here. All right, let's get into it. I made a tweet yesterday. For educational purposes, let's collectively move our hash to ethermine.org April 1st for 51 hours. Now, this is something that just came out of nowhere when I was doing that live stream yesterday. I guess just during that live stream, as I was talking about 1559, and I was talking with you guys in live chat, and we all of a sudden did this, and now it's essentially blown up. And let's view the activity here. It got a lot of impressions and a lot of engagement. So I guess what I'm trying to just go along in this video is just go through a bunch of different stuff regarding why I made this post in the first place.
Okay. So let's see. Then about 6 days later, this dude named BitBoy blows up our spot. He's kind of an asshole about it. I found out about it just today from Vosk. So I'm going to go ahead and play Vosk's clip of BitBoy's bullshit. So it's a clip of a clip of a clip. We're going to get meta today, babies.
So listen to this. turn this up so you can hear.
That's Vosk.
Number two, miners are pissed.
Let me know if you guys can hear that in the
Better than a lot
chat.
of angry nerds. In fact, some of the miners are even talking about doing a 51% attack against the network. The majority of miners are not happy
So let's
with
talk
this
about-
proposal getting passed. Some of the miners are even talking about
Let's talk about that real quick. You know, this isn't a BitBoy crypto hate video or anything like that, but like in regards to the dude clickbait video. All right, so like look, BitBoy crypto, whether you like it or not, because you guys don't share enough Vosk coin videos with your friends, is that we are not the biggest crypto YouTube channel, and he is now the biggest crypto YouTube channel.
That like is out there. He's the biggest. He's talking about it. It's all over the news, misconstrued as a 51% attack. So yeah, BitBoy kind of blows it up. I never knew about that noob. I guess he's the biggest, but all right. So there's this like basically a hit piece on miners that is formatted like an FAQ. But I don't know. I think he's just making fun of miners because this whole thing is actually just fucking slander against miners. Yeah, is it good for ETH? Oh, well, it's good for the price of ETH. I like that. I like that his words are like perfectly clear. Second, there's a straightforward argument in burning the base fee that internalizes some of the revenue that miners currently make. Okay. Like, so it's like the assumption is that like if miners make the revenue, then it's like out of the Ethereum ecosystem, I guess. Which is weird because it exists on a wallet, but when you burn it, it doesn't exist anywhere, and it has definitely left the Ethereum ecosystem. It's a very, very unusual way of thinking about it. Possibly, let's see, third by lowering inflation, possibly even by making Ethereum deflationary. So I'm trying to read this sentence without this parentheses. Third, by lowering inflation, deflationary. By lowering inflation and deflationary, it's like not even fucking proofread. I don't even know what the fuck this is. More attractive as a stakeholder or a share, sorry, as a storeholder of wealth asset. Okay, it's like janky fucking nonsense words that like if you just scroll through you'll see like turns ETH from a non-productive into a productive. Like it's okay. That's actually ETH 2.0, which you guys have such a hard on for, and a testnet going. So if you're super psyched on it, just put your shit on the testnet. The structure of the marketplace will have some minor effect, which is the entire point of it. It will reduce overbidding, but it could have the opposite effect. Due to a better user experience, users could be willing to pay for more for transactions than they are today. So you're like, we're facing a crisis of record high gas fees, and it's going to completely congest the network to death. But the improvement to fix that could make them higher. That's where we're at right now. This is the FAQ, baby. This is an incredibly scientific explanation for how the current fees are set up and the miner gets all of it, and how now this red arrow shows up and there's this question mark here, which is all pretty scientific. And it just goes to show you that now there's some Ethereum that will just disappear from existence. And then everyone benefits. It's literally question mark profit from South Park, as far as I can tell. The existence of markets on top of Ethereum, such as exchanges, creates a constant stream of income. This is the MEV thing, miner extracted value. Outside the scope of this video, miners currently benefit tremendously from these transactions. Okay, logical fallacy. Here's a contradiction coming up. Likely making more money from selling priority gas fees than regular gas fees. So they're saying if they pass this resolution, we'll make more money in MEV. But then they're saying that we're benefiting from it already without even knowing it. So like, it's just not terribly clear what they're trying to say. Is it like a 10 times increase? Or is it like a 10% increase? You know, it's just, there's no source for this. You know, it's just some graph. Like, oh, now it'll look like this. Like, okay. You know, like with no explanation for how he got there. There's just some fucking MS Paint shit here. You know, it's just like, they're illustrations to make a point, but they're not like, it's not like there's a study here that I can figure out where he got data points. He's just explaining like in in a hypothetical, this is all how this works, and it's like, yeah, great, hypothetically, of course. And a lot of shit works that way. Yeah. Something about paying just the right amount of money for security. In conclusion, while lowering miner revenue also lowers security at the margin, Ethereum doesn't just optimize for security, but also for usefulness. A system that overspends on security is less useful to its holders. I mean, I just want to summarize by saying that, like, while overspending might be slightly less useful in terms of, like, I don't know, like paying a little bit too much taxes to your cops and your firefighters, and they don't do quite as much work as they could, and they spend some days hanging out or something, like when they, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, having too much cops and firefighters, if you know what I mean. It's like, well, yeah, I guess, like, that problem can definitely run away and definitely become excessive, but, like, it's catastrophic not to pay for enough. Like, duh. And then, like, simply, like, the weirdest thing is I'm like, well, why don't you just not charge the fees that you're gonna burn? If this was about improving the user experience, you would just not charge the fees. You want to charge the fees, and you want to burn them, and you want to do that because this isn't about security, and this isn't about anything at all except for taking a dig at miners when they're already on the way out. And this doesn't prove anything. Let's just keep going down. Yeah, why burn it? He's got some studies here. Study 2 cites study 1. Study 1, it's a little beyond my pay grade, so let's just give him a pass and say it's great. So it'll do great things for the price, and we'll just assume it does. Can miners... This is the best, though. This is where I really wanted to read it. Can miners block the deployment of this improvement plan? Like, without getting into what he says here, which is kind of why I wanted to read this, I'll say no. Like, we can't. Because ultimately, like Ethereum Classic shows, if people actually tried, and that's not the intention, actually. The intention is to make a compromise with developers, you know. But we know that the pools that tried to resist deploying the improvement project just wouldn't get rolled up into the main chain, you know. Like, Vitalik and crew would just leave them behind. The pools would die, the miners would switch over one by one, and, like, or, you know, probably wouldn't die. It'd be like Ethereum Classic 2. 0.0. 1.6. Okay. But even though the first thing he says, it doesn't even address the question. Even though miner revenue has increased 10 times over the last year, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, make sure the first thing I answer is that, like, they're making plenty of money and they're asked, like, you know what I mean? Paint them as bad guys. Make sure people know they make plenty of dough. I don't think that 10 times number is right. I don't see a citation on that. It's increased. Maybe it has in the network. I have old school graphics cards. Maybe it has. Maybe I'm getting left behind. In Ethereum, overpays for security at the expense of holders. I don't know. I mean, show me your work. Threatening to oppose, which actually just links, by the way, to this website. It's not threatening to oppose. It's crazy. It's funny. Like, it's more like call your senator is this kind of a website. Alarmist bullshit. So, you know, the best outcome, the rational thing, blah, 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 too much revenue to jeopardize it with an attack, which is, like, not what people are talking about doing. 20% of revenue will be burned. Well, that's not the estimates that the mining community has come up with. Miners can make more money by cooperating with the users. Oh, the users. Oh, my mistake. I thought it was the developers that we were dealing with. The users. Well, by all means. Misunderstood. There's one person on that call who identified himself as an investor, and he was pretty quiet and also very nice and respectful. Transactors no longer have to guess. I mean, that's really all it is. Right now, it's like an auction. In the future, it'll be like buying on a fluctuating up and down price, but it will be like a upfront price. If that's the only change they're making, I don't even think miners will notice. MEV. Okay. So, they have this argument like, oh, 1559 will let you do MEV, but you guys have also been doing MEV. Well, which is it? Are you unlocking that for miners with this update, or have we already been making that money? Like, the narrative doesn't add up. Some miners feel entitled to their current revenue, even though it is the result of users overpaying for security. Pretty subjective thing to say, but okay, let's roll forward. As a result, they might respond to the deployment of the EIP with a user harming behavior that was previously seen as taboo. Interesting, because every single thing that comes out of crypto miners' actual mouths is a lot more to do with protest rather than attack. Totally different things. And then, while they set the stage to know that like miners are dangerous and we're gonna attack, they go on to explain that with this miner extracted value that they're pushing down our fucking throats, that, I don't know, doesn't personally interest me all that much. And I don't think it sounds like, I don't even think benign MEV sounds good. And I don't even want to get into exactly what it is. It's beyond the scope of the video. It's already fucking way too long. But the malicious MEV is like literally, it's kind of like 51% attack style behavior. No, it's not. It is that kind of behavior. So by opening up this gateway and being like, oh, Ethereum will do this MEV thing to offset this burn, it's like the most bizarre shit, because you're opening up all this behavior that I actually think is problematic. I think things should get into the chain in the order they are executed. I think the arbitrage shit is a little weird. I don't even know how it's going to work without miners. Is that just going to mean that the person with the most Ethereum gets to make the moves first every block? I mean, like every time. So it's just way to consolidate everything, guys. Way to absolutely undo all of the, at least attempt. God damn it. Normalizing MEV instead of blah blah blah, slippery slope. Oh, some miners won't extract, only benign. Some they'll go malicious. It's like, well, I don't think miners were like clamoring to get MEV. I think miners are clamoring to not burn Ethereum. They're like, if you don't charge it, you don't charge it. But why the fuck are you burning it? Like, that's really what's bothering, I think, most people. The answer to why is the price. They just want to see the price go up, and if they would be more transparent about it, I think it would sting less. But they're trying to just be full of, like, I don't know. Let's move along to some clips. I think we're actually almost out of here. We're basically done. Bits be tripping on the 9th. So what is that? Yesterday, right? That's how I got. Oh, today. He summarizes up the attack vector. So I've been working on this since last night.
There was around 10 different scenarios that can happen, and those scenarios are really centered around two core elements. That is the yield per hash power that is provided based on the Ethereum network, that takes in difficulty, and then the block reward plus the fees. What is that yield? And then the price, which nobody can control the price, no matter how much people try to do. But Ethereum, in its first time in the 5.5 years plus of its existence, 6 years now of its existence, has a real chance of getting itself into a position that we could get the incentives out of alignment because of a rapid drop in fees. Will drop the yields, which will then miners that have a huge amount of force projection will be looking for what the next thing is. And it creates the incentive for a would-be attacker to occur. And there was no discussion of compromise. They said, yes, you could create an EIP. We've been down that road before where EIPs have been created and been ignored. This has all been a protect the network at all cost. So I just wanted to make sure that there was a PSA out there to make sure that people understand that when like Red Panda puts out a thing out there to show a show of force, this isn't for us to try to take down Ethereum. This is purely on the grounds of protecting Ethereum, because we've all been mining it since 2015, or a huge amount of people have been mining it since 2015. Individual miners before the big guys came in, right? And this is showing that detachment from the all-core devs, that detachment from the investment side of Ethereum, that detachment from the app creators that don't understand the importance of having service providers and folks that are going to be on Ethermine to show, their fact that they can move their hash power, then I think that sends a pretty clear message that there needs to be a compromise out there. If you have a misalignment of incentives, you could get the network into a position where this type of thing would have a would-be attacker could put a price point out there, pay a lot more for that hash power that just got kicked off, and now you have a situation where you could have a double spend or a block reorg.
All right, so that about does it for me. You hung in there for about half an hour, so thank you. Hopefully this is useful. I was trying to consolidate about a week's worth of stuff and maybe about 4 hours worth of content into something digestible. I hope I represented everybody's positions accurately. If not, feel free to reach out and I'll just make a correction, because it was my intention to do so. And I appreciate all the people like that put in all this hard work, like Carter and Red Panda, for putting up all these videos and like just being trailblazers, especially Carter, getting in there at the dev meetings and dealing with stuff like that. So, you know, yeah, I'm in it with the community. I'm still new around here, so I'm still just trying to find a way to help out, and hopefully stuff like this helps out. So yeah, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you like.